Testing, Eric.
Good morning, everyone, and a hearty and happy Labor Day weekend. We hope that our services here this morning find each and every one of you happy and healthy, and maybe even down at the lake house or something for those of you joining us online. My name is Victor Doherty, and I want to welcome you to Temple Buddhist Center's Sunday meditation service, and I am honored to be of service this morning. Let's begin our time together this morning with some conscious breath work. A conscious breath is where we seal the mouth, breathe deeply through the nose, hold that breath for a few moments, and then release slowly so that the exhale is longer than the inhale. Let's begin. Holding that breath for just a moment, feeling the fullness of the lungs. And now releasing slowly in sort of a metered fashion. And as the body releases, notice it relaxing, perhaps even sinking a little more deeply into the chair or the cushion. The shoulders drop, the facial muscles relax, and the belly softens. And let's take a second conscious breath together. Holding for a moment and releasing. And as you release on this second conscious breath, giving yourself full and complete permission to unplug from that energy that we become very used to during the week, that energy of going and doing and striving and efforting and accomplishing. There's nothing wrong with this energy, but it's important to balance it by connecting, at least for a short time, with the energy of being. And with that, let's take a third conscious breath. Holding and releasing. And as we release on this third breath, we take a moment to simply allow into our awareness the present moment. There is only this. This is all there is. And so here at Temple Buddhist Center, we like to begin our services with a little bit of chanting. Chanting is an integral part of every tradition. Chanting is not about being a singer. Chanting is about having a voice. And it is about a deeply devotional expression of what is sacred within you and sharing that with the entire world. Our chant today is Namo Amitabha Hamsa Hamsa. Namo Amitabha Hamsa Hamsa. And this is a chant in the Buddhist tradition that honors the Buddha of limitless light. That essence within each one of us that knows no labels and is just a clear, beautiful, present light that we can expand and share with the entire universe. And so Hamsa means I am that. And so with that, let's take one more conscious breath. And let's begin. Namo Amitabha Hamsa Hamsa. 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 With a smile. Namo Amitabha Hamsa Hamsa. Namo Amitabha Hamsa Hamsa. Once more. Namo Amitabha Hamsa Hamsa. And so again, we welcome everybody, and a special shout out to some of those folks who may be convalescing at home. Patrick, good morning. Hope you're feeling better. Hope you're having a great day. And to everyone at home in our PJ Sangha this morning. Here at Temple Buddhist Center, we practice Western Buddhism. Western Buddhism is a blend of Eastern philosophy and Western psychology. And this new and exciting form of spirituality is dynamic. It's growing and learning with us as we find out more every day about this amazing human experience. It is also inclusive. It is active, and it focuses on core Buddhist insights as well as mindfulness, meditation, and their practical applications in our daily life. Our goal here is not to get everyone to agree on a specific lineage or philosophy or sect, but rather it is on a shared experience of mindfulness, oneness, and love. Whether we are chanting together, whether we are spending time in noble silence, or whether we are sharing from the heart, we respect that you will participate only at the level that feels comfortable for you. We take refuge in the three jewels and acknowledge these core values as expressions of the awakened mind, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We value awareness of our Buddha nature, as well as the Buddha nature of all beings, bringing a fresh and a new experience to each and every encounter. And the second, the Dharma, the truth teachings that release us from fear and illusion and help us to realize the true nature of who we are. And of course, finally, Sangha, our spiritual community, an essential part of growth, where we come together to help each other and to practice the teachings and to help each other along every step of the path. And so at this time, let's remember to silence any cell phones or electronic devices. anything you need to do at home to prepare for a time in contemplation and meditation. And we are going to begin with the prayer of refuge. So let's take a conscious breath together. And let's begin. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. And so, as we prepare now for a time in meditation, if you have an extensive practice, then we invite you to practice in a way that is fitting for you this morning. If perhaps you are newer to meditation, we're going to begin with a dedication of intention. We will awaken the bell 3 times for the 3 jewels. And then our teacher today, Mr. Robert Brumet, will lead us in a guided meditation that's designed to assist you in moving into the stillness. We will spend approximately 10 to 12 minutes today in noble silence, connecting with each other in consciousness, connecting with our Sangha, both near and far, known and unknown. Afterwards, Robert will bring us out of meditation. We will sound the return bell, and then it will be time for today's Dharma talk, or teaching. And so with that, let's take a conscious breath together. Body, speech, and mind in perfect oneness, I send my heart along with the sound of the bell. May the hearers awaken from forgetfulness, transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow, and realize the true nature of who they are.
As we listen to the sound of the bell, we hear it receding into the silence. We follow that sound deep into the silence of our own being. With each breath that you take, let your body relax. Allow the mind to become clear. Allow the heart to open. There's nothing to do but to allow. To allow life to express itself in the body that you inhabit. With each breath, we allow the body to become more relaxed. And we begin to sense the body, feeling the body sitting in the chair, on the cushion, the bench. Feeling the breath in the body. Feeling the sensations in the body as we breathe. Noticing what's happening in the mind. And let the mind be just what it is. If it's busy, let it be busy. If it's quiet, let it be quiet. But we don't feed the mind anymore. It's like a pebble dropped into a still pool of water. There are ripples, but gradually the ripples lose their energy. The pond returns to the stillness with no effort. Breathing with no effort. Being with no effort. Simply allow. No struggle, no judgments. And if you get lost in the mind, come back and feel the breath in the body. Feeling the breath, feeling the body, calming the mind, opening the heart. at this time, I invite you to once again become aware of the body sitting. Becoming aware of the entire body, if you can, the torso, head, neck, the arms, the legs, hands, feet. Just feeling the body as an integral unit. Becoming aware of the mind and the contents of the mind, thoughts, feelings, desires. Becoming aware of hearing, just relaxing, letting the sounds come to you. And in a moment, you'll hear the sound of the bell, and when you do, I invite you to open your eyes very slowly and gently, and to include seeing in your practice. So when the bell rings, the eyes come open, the practice continues. We continue with our eyes open, our ears open, our heart open, our mind open. Present to each experience. Present to the wonderful gift we have, this life, this lifetime. Let us be awake. And now the sound of the bell. Perfect. Thank you.
I had no power over my PowerPoint.
Sometimes it has a mind of its own, doesn't it? Well, good morning and happy September and Labor Day and hopefully cooler weather someday. But it is what it is. We take each moment as it comes to us. I'd like to begin by talking about a man named Siddhartha Gautama, who lived about 2,500 years ago in India. And he became the Buddha, which means the awakened one, by virtue of a profound awakening that he had, spiritual awakening, in which he could see all of his past lifetimes. He could see the universe as if it were a baseball in his hand. He knew, he experienced full awakening. And so he began to teach. What else would an enlightened person do but teach? You say there's nothing else to do. And he taught for about 40 years. He wandered all about India. And he taught something that we now call Buddhism. I'm sure he didn't call it that. He taught, as any Indian would, he taught in the context of Hinduism, which was the religion, the practice, the spiritual practice of that time. And in particular, it would seem like Siddhartha engaged in a practice that sounds a lot like what we would call Raja Yoga today. It's one of the yogas in the Hindu tradition. And again, the Buddha was a Hindu, he was an Indian. And so when he taught in the vernacular of that time, and much of what the Buddha taught was already in existence in some form in the Hindu scriptures. The Eightfold Path was a teaching that is part of Buddhism, but it also has been part of the Indian Hindu lexicon for a long time. The 5 precepts, we can find those in Hinduism as well. So there's quite a number of concepts that the Buddha used in his teachings, as we would today. You know, we would use science, we would use philosophy, we would use whatever the vernacular and the culture that we have. However, there was one radical shift away from traditional Hinduism, and that is the teaching of anatta, or what's come to be known as no-self. In the Hindu tradition, every individual had a soul called Atman, and it was often said that Brahman was the universal soul or spirit, and Atman was the individual soul. And Brahman is Atman, Atman is Brahman. In other words, the soul and the divine are one and the same. And that soul is eternal, permanent. The Buddha said, not so fast. He says, in my experience of awakening, I see that there's no soul. There's nothing that's permanent, including the soul. So that's become known as anatta, meaning no Atman. An is sort of a negation in Sanskrit. Atta, anatta means no soul. But that's not quite true. He didn't necessarily say there was no soul, because the Buddha would never address questions of a metaphysical or philosophical basis, you know, such as, do we have a soul? Is there life after death? Those kinds of questions. You know, he would say, just do the practice. You know, you could be chasing these intellectual questions your whole life, and you're getting nowhere. So forget about that. Do the practice. Become free. He did say, however, cling to nothing as the self, as part of the practice. So in our practice, we become aware of the self as we experience it. You know, I invite you just to experience yourself right now as you're sitting in your chair or wherever. You know, there's certain sensations, feelings, thoughts, beliefs. Our whole history we bring with us everywhere we go. And it certainly feels like there's a me in there. I mean, you know, to be told that you don't exist is kind of an insult. And the Buddha didn't say you don't exist, but he said you don't exist in the way you think you do. You actually exist more than you realize, but not as you believe you are. So anatta can be understood not so much that we don't have a soul or we don't have a self, as the fact that who we are is dynamic and always changing. Your sense of self now is different than when you first walked in the door 5, 10, 15 minutes ago. Every moment, our sense of self changes as we learn, as we let go. So there is a self, but it's not a fixed self. It's not a thing. It's really an activity. You can think of self as a verb. Like a river. We say river. Everybody says, okay, I know what a river is. But there's really no such thing as a river. River is just water that's moving, right? If the water wasn't moving, it wouldn't be a river. So the river of life, life itself is always moving, always dynamic. And our sense of self in this practice is something that we notice, but we don't cling to it. So if you have a strong sense of me, I, notice, number one, there's probably some suffering connected with that. And number two, notice that there's some contraction around that. I, or me. You know, I really want something, or I'm afraid something will happen. That's the contraction. That's dukkha. That's suffering, angst. But when we're without a self, you know, which just seems to be a horrible thing, but yet think about it. The times when you've really been in bliss, the times when you've really been at peace, the times when you say, this is what I've lived for. What was your sense of self then? Probably very light. In fact, maybe none whatsoever. The less self, the more happiness. And yet we work so hard to take care of this self. We want to polish it up so it looks good. We want to make sure everybody sees it. Or on the other hand, maybe we want to make sure nobody sees it. But this self drives our lives. But what is it? If it's not a thing, it's a pattern. And patterns can change. Rivers run this direction now. 100 years from now, they'll run in a very different direction. Rivers can change, patterns can change. The universe is changing. And there's no self anywhere in the universe, according to the Buddha. So, those are some of the ways of considering the self. A wonderful meditation practice is to look for the self. Okay, I'm going to look for Robert. Well, I can feel sensations in the body that are changing constantly. My thoughts are changing constantly. Emotions changing constantly. Desires are changing constantly. Well, Robert is that which is looking. So let's find out what's looking. How do we do that? If you go into a dark room with a flashlight, and if you're patient, you can see everything that's in that room, right? No. There's one thing you'll never see. What's that? The flashlight, right? You'll see everything in the room, but you won't see the flashlight. So, what we call self is really an opening. It's like a light. Sometimes the light is fixed, laser focused. Sometimes it's very broad. Sometimes the self is very focused, laser-like. Sometimes it's very broad. Sometimes it flickers. You know, when we go to bed at night, the self goes. Then maybe it comes back in a dream, or if we have to go to the bathroom, or we hear a loud noise or whatever, then the self comes back. So if we pay attention, we see the self is really a constantly changing organism. And interestingly enough, in brain studies with the fMRIs, you know, where they'll put the MRI on the brain and then have people make choices or think about certain things or whatever you see. And so the scientists are able to measure where certain things take place. Decision-making takes place here. Desire takes place here. Fear takes place over here, you see. Where's the self located in the brain? Can't find it. There's not one single cell in the brain called the self. The self is really something created out of a composite of all the brain activities. So this self, even physically, physiologically, is an activity. It's a created activity. So we live in a world where we need a self, but that doesn't mean that we have to identify with it. You can use yourself when you're buying an airline ticket or applying for a job or get pulled over by a police officer. You know, he doesn't want to hear, or she doesn't want to hear you say, I have no self. There's nobody was speeding because I have no self. Try it, it won't work. So we have to function in a world where we need a self, and yet it's something we don't want to identify with too closely. So we live in a dual reality in a sense. The reality that we know is true, and yet we act otherwise. You know? So we use the ego or the self as we might use our computer or our cell phone. Hopefully we're not addicted to the computer or the cell phone. Not busy taking selfies. No. I saw somebody driving down the road the other day, you know, down Warnell Road, taking a selfie. And we live in a world where we know appearances are not real. You know, this chair is just mostly empty space. That wall is mostly empty space. The body's mostly empty space. But we live in a world where if I try to walk through that wall, even though it is mostly empty space, and this body's mostly empty space, if I try to walk through that wall, I'm going to discover it doesn't feel very empty. So, knowing something doesn't mean, knowing something's true doesn't necessarily mean we don't function otherwise. And so that's the kind of the game that we're in. We're playing as if we have a self, but we don't take it too seriously. We don't cling to it as being me. So, one of the questions that's often asked is, if I'm aware of myself, who's aware? You know, I asked my first meditation teacher that question, and he seemed to be a little embarrassed, and he says, well, nobody. That didn't satisfy me. I says, well, how can nobody be aware? And he says, well, awareness is aware of itself. Okay. Maybe true, but it just didn't satisfy my mind, you know. It's like, who's aware? What was it? And then the young man said, though I know that I know that I know, what I'd like to see is the me that sees me when I know that I know that I know. So in other words, who's watching the watcher? Who's watching, you see? Who's the observer? And there is no answer. We can make up answers, but what's interesting is I read and I hear more and more frequently this idea that we are created by the universe as the sense organs of the universe. We are the eyes and the ears of the universe. So the universe is seeing itself through you. Again, you can't prove that, but it's just a nice model to work with. The universe is seeing itself through you. It's living itself through you. How else could the universe understand itself without you? Just as the body creates brain cells, the universe creates people. So you could say in a way that you are the universe observing itself. Or to put it another way, you are the universe taking a selfie. So smile and enjoy the whole thing. Thank you for sharing your practice with us today.
Thank you, Robert. Let's take a moment and just embody the teachings. moving from the head to the heart, moving from trying to analyze, understand, figure out, synthesize, and just move into the feeling nature of the truth teachings. Truth is truth. Working with resonating the heart. And as we move in now to our heart practice portion of our service today, it is not uncommon for people to maybe shift your posture, stretch, take another conscious breath as we move from the Dharma talk into our heart practice. And our heart practice today is a gratitude practice. And so with that, let's take a conscious breath together. Just breathing in and releasing. And you may want to provide an external gesture. For example, some people create the Anjali Mudra, the heart focusing. Some people like to simply place a hand on the heart. Or if you're sitting in meditation posture, perhaps with your hands on your lap, we invite you to flip your palms upside down so that they're facing outward in sort of an outward expression. And we begin this practice by just settling in, resting for a moment, going within, opening our hearts. And we can begin by feeling how year after year after year you have cared for your own body and mind. And now let yourself begin to acknowledge all that has supported you in this care. And we can recite silently to ourselves these mantras of gratitude. I hold in my heart gratitude for the care and labor of 1,000 generations of ancestors who have come before me. I hold in my heart gratitude for the creatures of the sky, the earth, and the water, whose joyful exertion blesses every day. I hold in my heart gratitude for the family and the friends that I have been given and the community that I share. I hold in my heart gratitude for the blessings of this earth that I have been given. I hold in my heart gratitude for the measure of health that I have at this moment. I hold in my heart gratitude for the teachings and the lessons that I have been given, as well as gratitude for my teachers, both formal and informal. I hold in my heart gratitude for all the beings, past, present, and future, who accompany me on this journey. And just as we are grateful for our blessings, so too we can be grateful for the blessings of others. Take a moment to let our heart fill with warmth, love, and light of this gratitude, allowing it to expand and fill your whole body, down through the belly, the hips, the legs, up into the shoulders, the neck, the head, and the arms, and allowing this warmth, this love, and this light to expand and intensify even further so that we become a light a beacon influencing everyone that we meet today. And with that, let's take a conscious breath together. And in the true spirit of dana, the Buddhist practice of generosity, temple services here are given freely. And in the same way, if you choose to give, please give with a generous heart, which means not in return for anything that you have received today, but rather so that those who may be seeking refuge will find it here in this temple with this Sangha, these teachers, and these teachings. The Dana boxes are at the back of the meditation hall. And also we take a moment of gratitude for all of our wonderful ambassadors, those folks who've committed themselves to regular monthly electronic giving. It's not about the amount. It's just that the regular monthly giving helps us to set a budget here at TBC. And you can become an ambassador by just focusing your camera on the cards and the seat backs in front of you, or just stopping by our website, templebuddhistcenter.com. Also, gratitude for Rochelle and your beautiful music. Thank you, Rochelle. And thank you to Mr. Robert Brumet for your wonderful teachings, your wisdom, everything you do for Temple Buddhist Center. Everything he does is always from Dana. He never asks for anything, so we are so blessed to have him here. And thank you especially to each and every one of you for sharing your heart, your presence, your practice with each and every one of us. We certainly are the better for it. And so as we prepare to end our time together this morning, then I will put the bodhicitta dedication. Oh, everybody up in the heavenly abodes. Here we go. Put that up there, and we'll do our bodhicitta dedication together. Together? May brilliant sun of bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion unstoppably, until all are illumined and awakened. And with the palms of our hands together in front of our hearts, as we go forth now from this place, may we enter each moment in innocence, guided by the wisdom of our hearts. And as we open our hands, open our eyes, shine our light into the world, namaste. All right, thank you, everyone. We still have 1 or 2 minutes in which I hope to share a few announcements with you. Don't forget downstairs, delicious crumble cookies and tea and coffee. Also, after every one of Temple Buddhist Center services, we have what's called a post-service discussion group. This is an opportunity for Sangha to come together, to talk about the Dharma, to share how it landed for them and what their experience is with that. So we'll have a post-service discussion group. As soon as you exit the meditation halls, turn left, and it's the room at the end of the hall to the left. So please stop by and check in with that. Also, this is First Sundays. So on First Sundays, we have Interplay. Interplay is a wonderful experience where adults learn to stabilize in and experience that joy of freedom, spontaneity, and play in a very safe and structured environment using all kinds of different games and activities. Beth is our she's a certified interplay coach, and she offers that today at 1 o'clock. So you have time to commune with folks, to maybe get a little bite of lunch, and then come right back at 1 o'clock for interplay. It is a lot of fun and is a great experience and a way to really deepen your sense of connection. Also, coming up next weekend is the Women's Wellness Weekend out at Cedar Hill Amphitheater and Campgrounds. And this is a community of folks that Temple Buddhist Center is partnering with. We're hoping to create a wonderful collaboration with these folks, giving Temple Buddhist Center sort of a campground or an outdoor facility for any events that we want to do. So they're having a Women's Wellness Weekend, and so you can find out more or register by going to cedarhillmusic.com. Cedar Hill Music. It's about 40 minutes east of here, and it's a beautiful grounds. They have all different kinds of camping opportunities, everything from cabins all the way down to just throwing a blanket on the ground. And then on September 29th, and this is very, very important because we changed the time period. Originally, it was from 7 to 9, like it kind of is during the summer. But what we realized is that the sun is going down by 7 o'clock these days. And so by the end of this month, it'll be getting very, very dark. So we bumped it up 1 hour. So the full moon celebration will be from 6 to 7:30. There will be dances of universal peace. We'll be building a flower mandala together. We'll be doing chanting together. Please bring a lawn chair with you, and it's at Westwood Park, which is literally just about 8 blocks west of the temple here at the intersection of 47th Street and State Line. Also, we're kicking off a new program for the fall called Growing Your Practice. We'll be working from 2 different books, and it's basically designed to be about a month long. So we figure if you attend anywhere from 4 to 5 sessions, you should be able to reap the benefits. And so Growing Your Practice is a way to really establish a solid, well-grounded, and regular meditation and mindfulness practice in your life. With so many new people coming to Temple Buddhist Center, we wanted to have something to help get them going other than just once a week on Sundays so that they can develop a very steady practice. And so that's going to be kicking off, we're thinking actually this month. So next Sunday at 11:45, we should have our first session of Growing Your Practice. So keep an eye on that. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter and our volunteer opportunities. Thank you so much, Liz, for building our little online store. And finally, I will leave this up on the screen so you could take a picture if you want to have like a bunch of stuff readily available. Our lending library is burgeoning, filled with lots of new books on the Dharma and Buddhism. And so, and I also had a couple things extra to share with you. We got a very nice thank you letter from a prison in upstate Missouri. I think it's around Atchison or something. But they were requesting books on Buddhism because they had none at the prison library. And so some members of our community, we all got together and we went through the lending library and we made a little care box and we sent that out there. So that was very nice to get a letter from some of those folks. And also, I guess that's everything. Oh, here it is. My Washington trip is this week. And so as I told many of you a couple of weeks ago, I am very honored to be able to represent Temple Buddhist Center and also Unity Temple community as a whole for the Department of Health and Human Services has asked me to participate in a conference on the intersection between faith and mental health. And so I leave Tuesday, so kind of watch the Temple Buddhist Center Facebook page because I'll be trying to do a few little Facebook live streamings while I'm out there keeping everybody on top of what's going on in Victor's big adventure in Washington, D.C. So again, thank you all so much, and as you go into your day, peace and blessings.